Hello everybody, welcome back to Higher Maths. Still on sets and functions. Today we're looking at something called the exponential function. So this thing here, f of x, a to the power of x, this is called an exponential function, where a is bigger than 0 and a cannot be 1. So there's a couple of restrictions in here. Don't get too tied down in this is just a bit of maths geekery. This is called an exponential function to the base a. This thing here, this a here, we call it the base. So it's an exponential function to the base a. Right, let's have a wee look at what we're going to be looking at. First of all, if this a number in here is bigger than 1, then we have an increasing function. So we have a graph that will go up the way. Okay, now notice the graph will cross at the point 1, and the coordinates of this point here will be 1 and then whatever this a letter actually is. And this is what we call an increasing function. Okay? Not to get too morbid, but if we think about the R rate that the politicians and scientists like to talk about just now, if we have an R rate which is bigger than 1, we have an increasing function, which is bad news. However, if we have an R rate which is less than 1, we have a decreasing function, which is good news. So if a is less than 1, this a number that we put in here, remember this is going to be a number, but for when we're explaining it we need to use a letter. So when that thing in there is less than 1, remember it's still got to be bigger than 0 though, we have a decreasing function. Now something I want you to notice about these things, they will always cross the y-axis at 1. The other thing I want you to notice is they should never cross the x-axis. Okay, so it should decrease and then just go almost like a constant along. It will come down here and almost be a constant along the way. Okay, it should not cross the x-axis. So there's two things there you need to watch out for. It should always cross at 1 and it should never cross the x-axis. So, let's look at this. If I want to sketch y equals 2 to the power of x, it means I'm going to do a little sketch. I'm not going to cross this x-axis. A nice little curve like that. I'll mark that that's the point 1, and then the a value is 2. Okay, that would normally be y equals a to the power of x, so that is a is 2. So in here, your coordinate point is going to be the point 1, 2. You're using that number in there to tell you the height after you've taken one step. If it's y equals 7 to the power of x, again, don't cross the x-axis. Now, technically speaking, the bigger the number, the steeper we get. Okay, so this now is going to be the point 1a, that's what we said at the start here. These points are 1a. A has been replaced by 7, so this will be the point 17. Then these obviously are not drawn to scale. I wouldn't get too worried about drawing things to scale. All we need to see is the one where it crosses in the coordinate point. Y equals a half x, so the a is less than 1, so that means I now have a decreasing function. Remember, don't cross the x-axis, so it's going to cross at 1, and then the point now will be 1 1/2. So that is how we would sketch the exponential function. So you're always going to cross at 1. You're going to use this number here for your coordinate point. It'll always be 1 something. If your a value is bigger than 1, you have an increasing function. If the a value is less than 1, you have a decreasing function. The other thing you're going to have to do is from the graph you're going to have to work out the equation. So up here I have an exponential function. It's going to go through the point 216. Okay, that's my point. Now if I have an exponential function, then that means I must have that. y equals a to the power of x. Now remember, at the start I introduced it as f of x equals a to the power of x. F of x and y can just go in and out of each other. For what we're about to do now, it helps to use the letter y. Right, I am now going to try and work out what the a letter stands for. Up here, I have been given a coordinate point. That is my x value, that is my y value. And here, I'm going to replace x and y with these numbers. Remember, the whole point of this is we need to work out what the a value is. Right, something squared makes 16. What number squared makes 16? Anybody? Yes, well done. It is 4. Hope you didn't say 8. Double 8, 16. No, 8 squared, that's 64. So a is 4, which means my exponential function is y equals 4 to the power of x. The whole point of this is to work out this a value here. The other example, I'm given the point 327, x and y. I write down my formula, y equals a to the power of x. It's an exponential function, so it must have that formula. I'm going to replace x and y with these numbers. And I need to try and work out what a equals. Something cubed makes 27. Anybody? Well, 2 cubes 8, so it's not 2. 3 cubed? 3 cubed is 27. 3 times 3 times 3. A equals 3. So in terms of my equation, it would be y equals 3 to the power of x. Remember, the whole point is we're trying to work out the a value. So there's two things. One of them is being able to sketch the curve when given the equation, and one of them is to work out the equation when given the sketch. That's what I want you to practice just now. So question 1 and 2. Question 3 and 4. Let me make sure you can see the points. Right, hit pause. You go and try that. Don't just wait for my answers, you cheat. Right, number 1. You're going to sketch y equals 5 to the power of x. So you're going to go little diagram. It's an increasing function. So it's going to cross at 1 and it's going to have the point 1, 5 because that is the a value. Second one, the a is less than 1, so it's a decreasing function. Remember, don't cross the x-axis when you're doing this. Crosses at 1 and it would have the coordinate point 1, 1/4. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Number 3, state the equation. Okay, so it's going to be y equals a to the power of x. This is the x value, this is the y value. Substitute them in. 64 equals something cubed. What number cubed is 64? Anybody? Oh, that's right. 4 cubed is 64. 4 times 4 times 4. So that means this is the equation, y equals 4 to the power of x. And then over here on number 4, same, y equals a to the power of x. This is x, this is y, you're given that in the coordinate point, substitute them in. 16 will equal something to the power of 4. Remember, we're talking powers here, we're not talking what number times by 4 makes 16, what number to the power of 4 makes 16. And we only really have one option here. It is 2. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 will make 16. So this is the equation, y equals 2 to the power of x. And that is the exponential function. See you next time.